Yes, hi everyone. So first of all, panel discussion usually sucks. I had panel discussions, but we try to make it super nice. That's why we called it Real Talk, and we have some very, very nice people here. They will introduce themselves in a bit. Very nice topics we talk about. People from the governmental side, startup side, and big corporate side. Gonna be very cool. We have a lot of stuff to discuss, questions and Q&A in the end as well. So if you have questions, just keep them to yourselves. And then I would say we do a quick intro of 20 seconds pitch. Maybe just like start in a row.
Let's get this going. So my name is Tim Jamboula. I'm the founder and CEO of Theist, the AI software company. And what we basically do is we develop software with AI for SMEs. And since AI is not, the tools are not approachable for all, we do it very customized. And there's a big loophole there, and we fill the gap.
Hi, thank you. Thrilled to be here. The vibe is amazing. My name is Cristina Gadibadi. I am a senior partner sales manager at AWS. So in my daily role, I help companies build not only with AWS solutions, but also with our partner solutions, which are technology companies like many of you here.
Hoi Rappi, my name is Jill Nussbaumer, and I'm a member of the Zug Parliament. We as a canton always try to be on the forefront of Switzerland, and on my day job, I also recently joined a startup.
Super nice. So I thought a little bit about how to start and how to dive into the topics. So I think easiest to explain is if we start with like 3 questions. Each of you will have like 10 seconds to answer. So just like super quick answer. What you think about the question. We can start with you in a bit, and then like we like do our way. So first question, 10 seconds to answer is: what is the most overhyped AI promise or AI topics you are tired of hearing?
Yeah, that we never have to work again. I think that won't happen, and that's good.
That there's going to be one model or one solution that will solve all the problems. I believe the future is about systems and ecosystems.
I think OpenAI as a company is overhyped.
Great take. So second question, AI is everywhere and everyone uses AI in some way. There's a lot of tools, you usually try them out, but what is actually the one AI tool that you use daily, and what AI tool, that's the question, you have used in the last 24 hours? Maybe we're going to start here.
Gemini, actually. I'm a big sucker and fanboy of Gemini.
Amazon Quick Suite, that's where our teammates, AI teammates live.
Of course.
Of course.
Yeah, also Gemini actually just took some minutes in my last meeting with Gemini.
Super nice. And then third question to wrap up. I had super interesting talks at Stanford about superpowers of human and what actually makes the difference when AI takes over and we have artificial general intelligence, and actually the intelligence level gets on the same level that us humans have. And I want to hear your take on what actually is your superpower that AI will not replace and that humans will always do. I think we can start in the back again.
Yeah, that's tough. But I think to really build mutual trust and integrity on a personal level, that will be a long way for AI to go.
I'd say presence, because just staying quiet by the right person can heal your soul, something that the AI could never do.
I would say cultural creativity, because I've traveled a lot and lived in 9 countries. And I think that's going to be very hard for AI to get that intuitive feeling, basically, of creativity.
Very nice. A lot is happening. So AI actually changes almost every day. We get new tools to use and so on. And we should talk a little bit about the current state, what happened the last weeks, months, where we are at right now, sitting here with AI. Do we have maybe specific stages we are in? I know Jensen Rang from NVIDIA was talking about first dialogue, like chats and so on, is the first stage. Then we have agents coming up. Soon we're going to reach maybe artificial general intelligence and connecting them to robotics and so on. So let's talk about what's the current state right now. And I would just hand over to one of you guys, and then we start and have a nice discussion.
I think the current stage, it depends where we are, right? In Europe, I think it's still adoption on the way to agentic, whereas in the States, for example, they're so far ahead. We had one client there last year. He was thinking about, how do I clone myself for my customers and voice agent, and I don't want to be reachable again, but they should have the feeling of talking to me the whole time. So I think it depends where we are in the world, but I think here in Europe, especially DACH region, it's very much compliance and still adoption.
I'd say now, as you said, we are at agents, and moving from chatbots and from using AI as a search engine to actually introducing agents into your workflow and let them not only give you the information, but actually work with that information and help you automate processes. So what I'm seeing with the customers is that the key priority for them now is building agentic platforms, agentic workflows, and trying to integrate this AI teammates into the existing teams.
Yeah, from a government and political perspective, I want to add to what Tim said, that we are lacking behind in Europe. So if you go to San Francisco, you can already order a self-driving car to bring you to your destination. And Switzerland has just introduced last year a change in law, which says that you do not have to touch, like when you drive, you do not have to touch the car, but you always need to be ready to intervene with your car. So that already means that we are on the way to self-driving cars, but we're not there yet because someone needs to sit there. So I think there's a long way to go to overcome some compliance issues we have in Europe and Switzerland still.
That's actually a crazy point. When I was in San Francisco for the first time ordering a Waymo, and then there was like the wheel moving, and I was sitting on the back seats, and I was like just driving. It was insane. But yeah, we're here. I didn't really have it yet, so that's actually a crazy point. Tim, also for SMEs, for me, honestly, from an outside perspective, sounds really boring. Have those SMEs, very old style, traditional. They heard about AI. They know they have to do something. What are you actually doing with them? Because I think it's quite a hard way to navigate them, probably. So how are you actually targeting them and talking to them?
I think the most surprising thing about my job is actually that it's expectation management, right? Because they heard about AI, and their expectation is actually crazier than the startups. The startups have more realistic expectation with AI and what AI can do than SMEs actually, which is funny. And of course, most of them, let's say they slept on digitization and just the internet and the things you can do with digitization, just of course due to over-regulation from the EU as well. But now with AI, they're like, oh, there's this magic tool, magic intelligence basically, and they're like, oh, it can do this, I've heard, and I've read something on LinkedIn, it can do that, and can you build it for me in 2 months? I'm like, whoa, okay, let's start from the get-go. What about your data? Most of them don't even have data. I'm like, okay.
For me, that sounds a little bit so you identify yourself more like a therapist and not like a startup actually implementing something, right?
Exactly. I should have gone into a different direction and studied psychology instead.
It's not too late. I could add from the personal perspective because I'm also an entrepreneur and have a small company myself. So when it comes to small companies, their characteristics are their blessing and their curse. Because the blessing is the fact that you are small, nimble, you can move fast, take decisions much faster, right? But at the same time, that is the curse, because it means that there is lack of structure oftentimes, lack of organized operations for FinOps, sales operations, and so on. So to really leverage AI to the fullest, you need to have some order and some data governance, and at least know where and what kind of data is sitting. Often what I see in small companies is that a lot of data and a lot of knowledge sits in the heads of the people or somewhere in WhatsApp chats or PDFs. So it is important to understand that, try to fix that, and add a little bit of structure and some systems, and then put AI on top of it, because AI by itself is not going to solve the problem.
It's also interesting. I think basically we need the therapist to actually drive innovation in SMEs, so I think you're in a good space. But you talked a lot about regulations, and it's very funny because we actually have the government here, so we can...
Not the government, but
yeah, but
the
like
parliament.
kind of.
Kind of.
So on stage here, we kind of have the gas pedal and the brake at the same time. So how do you navigate regulations, and how do you make startups and also SMEs and so on actually feel comfortable of implementing AI and not being feared of implementing something and then being forced down or like shut something down because of the regulations?
Oh yeah, that's a very good point. So I really strongly believe that the role of the government and also of politicians is to serve the companies and not make them serve us. So that means that we have very lean laws, understandable laws, also not over-the-top laws. I mean, the government should provide security for everyone, but not just make reporting bigger, admin, and I must confess we're not there in Switzerland yet. It's a lot of admin. So as a member of the parliament, I always try to talk to the regulator directly. For example, FINMA, if they issue a new guidance which really doesn't make sense for the company, we sit on a table, we give them inputs and tell them what works, what doesn't work and why, and also sometimes give them new proposals to make it leaner and more business friendly. And the thing I like in Switzerland is that often they listen to the startups, they listen to the company. So one advice to every entrepreneur, don't be shy to call the government. I, for example, had a client who wasn't sure how to tax their staking rewards. So they asked the government how to do that, how to declare staking rewards, and the canton of Zug answered, what do you suggest? What makes sense? So they came to an agreement where there was no regulation yet, and I think that should be the ideal way to go.
That's interesting, because Switzerland also takes kind of a different approach. I remember we talked about crypto as well, and in crypto was that the European Union was just like putting a lot of regulations first, and then we see how we handle that stuff. And I think Switzerland did a little bit of a different approach, and I know that you know some stuff about crypto, so maybe you can talk about Switzerland if you do the same stuff for AI as well, or how your approach is there as well. You kind of said a bit already, but yeah.
And maybe what the EU can learn from it.
Oh yeah, I'd love to teach the
Because
EU.
Tim is in Germany, so he's not in Switzerland.
Yeah,
suffering.
so I used to work in crypto. That's why I think that's a great example. Switzerland has never introduced a crypto law. It was an umbrella ordinance. So that meant that they took different laws, for example, the banking law or the financial infrastructure law, and they just changed a couple of words, a couple of sentences, like they defined where crypto is in the banking law, if the same money laundering rules apply or not. So that made the whole legislation very lean, whereas Europe, they went and made a whole MiCA thing and put out a whole new law which didn't really integrate into the existing frameworks. And if you do that, you always tend to over-regulate because you invent new rules instead of just saying like, okay, if you issue a token, you need to have similar governance to issuing a security and so on. So I think that's something which Switzerland does not so bad. We can still improve, but maybe the EU could learn from that.
Very interesting. And then Switzerland can also learn from Silicon Valley because they are the next step, and it's a very nice approach of pushing each other there. That's very nice. Let's talk a little bit about the future. So future starts from today, like next second is the future basically. So let's start with 2026. So what's the big trend 2026? What should you build? What do you think is the most hype topic or most interesting topic you should dive into for this year specifically?
I would actually say it's industrial AI against all the odds of just, I don't know, Gen AI and agentic or whatsoever. I would actually say go deeper into industries. There's A, so much money, B, so much data, and C, so much opportunity where you can help a factory actually get ahead and produce more by having less people. Because we are having, in Germany, we are having the Fachkräftemangel. I don't know if everyone is familiar with that, but we are lacking people to actually go and do the job or specific jobs. And with certain, if you are good with IoT, for example, if you are good with the shop floor, for example, stuff like that, no one is touching that right now. Most people are just doing, I don't know, the next N agency, automation, whatsoever. Don't be afraid to dive in deeper. Industry is the next boom for sure.
Which is actually funny because people are scared to not have any jobs anymore, and then at the same time we say we need so many people. But yeah, it's an interesting take, definitely.
Yeah, it's really hard to say what the future will be like. It's even hard to keep up with the present. Like, I'm in the middle of tech and it's hard for me to keep up. Who finds it hard to keep up with all the innovation and all the tools and everything, right? So it's hard to predict what's happening in 5 years or 10. We can only hope that there's going to be not so much race for the biggest model, largest model, the smartest robot, but that everything that is being built and all the innovation, it comes centered towards solving problems, solving human problems, solving the problems of the companies, to really bring added benefits. And for the companies, for example, to see return on investment, to see efficiency gains, and not just be confused between, okay, what do we choose and how do we always make sure that we have the newest, brightest, and shiniest solution.
Nice one. But you didn't answer the 2026 question. So we have a lot of people that want to build a startup this year. So what should they build?
A startup.
Right. But no industry or anything. You're just like in general, like.
No,
your ideas
I'm just joking. Focus on solving a problem. If you find a problem, work backwards from that problem using the existing technology and solutions and all the. It's so easy nowadays to build, right? With the low code, no code, and vibe coding and so on. So as long as you find a problem, work backwards from the problem to help your potential customer get benefits, clear benefits fast and quickly, then you're good. Go for it.
Yeah, so the government is famously always the last one to introduce new technologies. So what I really hope is that Switzerland keeps on working on good governance and good regulatories, and also that we see some real-time adoption, for example, managing traffic.
Okay, I think we are lacking time actually, so I wanted to talk about 2030 and robots and why we are here anymore when robots are superior in power and so on, and also in intelligence. But let's get 2 questions to wrap up, and then I think that's nice. So from the audience, someone.
Any questions?
If not, then we're good in time actually.
Oh, you have a question?
Yes.
One for Tim. So do you use coders in your work, or do you only work with AI and then the AI codes for you?
We have coders, but they use AI. So it's not one or the other. And we don't actually support the case that there won't be any software developers in the future. I think that's just marketing BS. There will always be space for software developers, but I think it's, as the saying goes, you'll be only replaced not by AI, but someone who uses AI. So yeah, we use coders for sure.
Right, one last question, and then, yes.
Yeah, for Jill, I have a question about internal tooling at the canton. I mean, I would assume there's not a lot of internal tooling when it comes to AI, but are there any specific like workflow optimizations that you've implemented at the canton where you would say, okay, this is a step in the right direction, or are you still relatively lacking?
For sure, we're relatively lacking, but what they are working on right now is, for example, for police investigation, as Zurich already does, to use AI for protocoling and also translation, especially in the court, because sometimes in the court it's so hard to find translators which have the vocabulary for economic crime and very difficult cases. So that's something they prioritize right now.
What is it? Is it Palantir?
I wouldn't even know. I don't hope so.
All right, well, super nice having you here. There were more questions in the back, but I think we are going to be around, and then just reach out and we're going to talk to you guys, and then it was a super nice discussion. Great to have you here, and Tim and I will talk about vibe coding, because there was also a question now at 3:40 or something, and then I think we are good to go.
Thank you.